This is Surf Radio from the Standard Hotel, Hawaiian, with Leigh Higgins. Surf Radio.
And my special guest this morning, I'm very excited to speak to, actually, Matthew Woodward, who is a rail adventurer and author. Good morning, Matthew.
Morning, Leigh. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be chatting with you because I know you're right into rail and trains and all that type of thing. Is that correct?
For the last 10 years, my life has been devoted to travelling around the world by train.
So where are you from originally?
Hail from England, various parts, lived in Scotland for a little bit as well. But really my heart is in Asia, so I spend a lot of time travelling around Asia by train.
Right, okay. And have you always been interested in rail travel and trains? Is this something that started from when you were a boy?
That's a great question. I had a train set when I was a small boy.
Yes.
As indeed did the King of Thailand, presented to him by Queen Victoria. The train set went, I'm not quite sure where, it might still be in my attic.
Yeah.
And then I went interrailing when I was a student. It's a rite of passage, or was in the 1980s, like a free ticket to travel around Europe for a month. You can still buy those.
Can you?
And then I got a job and I had to wear a suit, so I put my rucksack and my Thomas Cook rail timetable away. And then the opportunity just presented itself to give up that work and start travelling again.
So you weren't writing as your first job?
No, I worked in communications and marketing, but never had the chance to write a book. And in fact, I didn't know I was going to write a book. I came back from one of my early adventures and someone said, "You must write about that."
Really?
And I thought, no, I couldn't write a book. And it all stemmed from that.
Okay. And so how did you end up in Asia? Like, what was the journey to get into Asia and start recording your experiences here?
Yeah, I never travelled on family holidays outside the United Kingdom, so when I reached the age of 18 and had a little bit of money in my bank account, I thought I must start travelling. And then with the Interrail ticket, you could get as far as Istanbul, which at that time to me was a long way away. And of course, across the Horn there, you're in Asia, so technically I spent an afternoon in Asia.
Yes.
And it felt so good.
Yeah, very exotic, no?
Yeah, so I spent my life trying to come back to Asia at every opportunity.
And what brought you here to Thailand?
Well, like many people, I discovered Thailand on a holiday, and I won't pretend that it was before Thailand became a mass tourism destination.
Yeah.
But increasingly, as I've been coming back to Thailand, I see another side of it now. Travelling by rail, get to meet people, talk to people, and that's I love Thailand.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. Now we're here to talk about your new book. What is it called?
Sue Junction.
Okay. So why don't we come back? We'll take a small break and we'll come back and delve right into your brand new book.
Great.
My special guest this morning is Matthew Woodward, and he's a rail adventurer and author. And I just played that song especially for you, the Doobie Brothers, Long Train Running.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I knew you'd be excited. It's a great song. But we're here to talk about your brand new book. But before we get into that, tell me, how many books have you written?
This is my fifth book.
Okay.
Previous books. My first book, the one I told you I didn't think was going to be a book, was called Trans-Siberian Adventures.
Right.
My first journey to Shanghai by train on the legendary Trans-Siberian. And I enjoyed it so much, I then took another journey across Siberia to Singapore, actually. So all the way from Edinburgh to Singapore. Another journey to Tokyo on the Trans-Siberian. And the book before my current one was set in America, called Silver Streak.
Wow.
Travelling around America by train.
So tell us about this book. What's it called?
Sue Junction. I don't know if you know the history of Sue Junction. It used to be the Southern Line's terminal station.
Yes.
Before Hua Lamphong was built.
Yes.
And it's a very strange place at the moment, because you can see the enormity of the new station that was called Bang Sue Grand, but now is called something else altogether different. Krunthep Ariwat Central Terminal Station.
Yeah, haven't you noticed I didn't say that for you?
It rolls off the tongue, and I'm having to work quite hard at saying that. But you can sit on the platform at Sue Junction enjoying some platform food, and you're looking across at a spaceship almost. So I love the context of the old and the new together there. And I also love junctions. I think that stations called junctions
Yes.
are brilliant, whether that's Bawani Junction or Clapham Junction or Bangsu Junction. There's something very romantic about a train called a junction.
And tell us about the content of your book. You know, have you got any interesting stories or anecdotes you want to share with us?
Well, I could say you'd have to read the book, but
Yes, well, of
share.
course.
It's okay.
No spoilers here, right?
Well, not really. My book was about, because it was just at the end of COVID, so you couldn't actually travel across any borders. So instead, what I did was just, rather than a big A to B journey, I travelled around Thailand from Bangkok, exploring each of the railway lines. So the book's about my experiences of doing that. Things don't always go according to plan. You know, I almost caught fire once on a train where they were slashing and burning outside the carriage, and the sparks and everything was coming in.
No
and
way.
The whole thing went white smoke inside. And then I did stupid things like leaving my luggage in a taxi in Bangkok and the taxi driving off, and spending a day trying to find my luggage again. And so they're not major incidents. I don't go to prison or to hospital, but they tend to. I laugh at myself afterwards.
Well, that's a good thing, Matthew.
Yeah.
And in the book, you talk a little bit about Hua Hin, don't you?
Yeah, this is my first trip to Hua Hin, and I wanted to see what people regard as the greatest railway station of Thailand, and possibly one of the best in the world.
Yeah, well, we'll come back and talk about that, because BBC have just announced that it's one of the top 5 stations, in their opinion, in the world.
Great decision, and yeah, we should talk more about Hua Hin later on.
Yeah, let's come back and do that. We'll take another short break and a short song, and we'll talk about the Hua Hin railway station and your adventures around there. And in the book, you speak a little bit about Hua Hin. Tell us about how Hua Hin gets in your book.
Well, Hua Hin wouldn't exist without the railway, and the history of that fascinates me, and particularly railway hotels. So, and what I mean by that is, before 1926, there were no sleeper carriages on Thai trains. So with the Southern Line, for people travelling to Singapore or back up to Bangkok, they needed somewhere to stay overnight, and originally that would have been in homestays. And then the Royal Railway of Siam started building hotels.
Yes, and that's the Centara.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the granddaddy and original railway hotel, and it's just magnificent seeing inside how they've kept and preserved some of the artifacts of that period.
Yes, no, and the old railway station has got some beautiful charm about it, hasn't it?
I mean, I have to say, I love Thai railway stations, all of them, but Hua Hin is obviously at the peak. And you can see that by the bell. I look at the shiny bells around the stations of Thailand. This station has the shiniest bell. If there were a World Cup of bells, this railway station would win.
get it.
Yeah, definitely.
Good on
yeah.
you, Matthew. And because the new railway station is due to open around the 11th, with the double track coming through. So they've certainly built the railway station for progress here in Thailand. But that's not the only place. Like, you know, Sue Junction is huge, isn't it? Like, as you've been travelling around?
Yeah, the new station that was Bangsu Grand, that now has the long name. Yeah, that's the future of Thailand and the railway. And travelling around Thailand at the moment, you see these enormous concrete pillars wherever you're travelling, and this is the new, either the high-speed line or the double-tracked line. So you can just imagine in 10 years' time, the railway is going to be very different in Thailand.
Well, I just went up to Khao Yai in Saraburi 2 weekends ago and saw those massive overhead pillars or
Yes.
big pylons that the train rail link is going to be above. It's absolutely massive. Have you been there?
Yeah, I've had the impression of travelling at sort of altitude on these new raised lines coming out of Bangsu Grand, as we can call it, as far as the old airport in Bangkok. You're travelling on that new line, and obviously that speeds things up as well, because there's no traffic, there are no level crossings, the trains can just travel at much higher speeds.
Yeah, which is, I think it's a great thing, and I think it's got to be able to ease the traffic congestion down below. And I think there's something romantic about rail travel.
Yeah, and maybe not.
Can be.
Yeah. I don't put rail travel.
Maybe not.
It's not about travelling at altitude on those raised pillars, but there's definitely something massively romantic about rail travel generally.
Maybe my idea of romance is a bit warped anyway. But earlier you talked about the Trans-Siberian journey. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. As Eric Newby once said, everything else is peanuts. When you travel on the Trans-Siberian, it's a 7-day journey. And I've done it in winter 4 times. And people think I'm mad to do that, but it is. I find it very romantic and very exciting.
Oh, well, I must go on that then.
And it's maybe like going on a cruise ship. You sort of get into a routine of doing things every day. The weather is brutal in winter, so Russians like a warm train inside, so it can be 30 degrees inside, minus 30 degrees outside. It's like going into outer space. Really interesting.
Yeah. So what would you, is that your best memory, or is that one of your most memorable trips?
Well, I think I've probably done it enough now, but I do very much enjoy it, and I hope one day we'll all be able to enjoy the Trans-Siberian again.
Yes.
When I say Trans-Siberian, actually you get several train routes. There's one that crosses Mongolia, they call that the Trans-Mongolian, and another one that goes directly to China from Russia, called the Trans-Manchurian. So they're versions on the same route. Okay. But I've done that enough. I think in doing my journeys certainly to Singapore, it made me see the other Asian railways. Vietnam I found interesting, fun, but Thailand was my favourite place for all sorts of reasons.
Good on you. Rail enthusiast, author, adventurer, you're all of those things, aren't you, Matthew?
The only thing I'm not, Leigh, is a train spotter. I like railway enthusiast. I think that describes it best.
It's a nice word.
Yeah.
Bit of a mouthful for a Saturday morning, but nice word. Now tell me, what's next for you?
Well, whilst I'm here in Thailand talking about my book, I'm also taking the opportunity to travel a bit more by train and do some of the things that I wasn't able to do on my last trip. So next week, I'm looking forward to travelling from Singapore to Bangkok on the train.
Okay.
The Eastern and Oriental Express is no longer travelling in Thailand next year, which is a bit sad. So I've decided to recreate that journey by regular trains. So it won't be as exotic, but it'll be fun. And the other thing I've got looking forward to, the King's Birthday steam train trip out of Hualampong.
Yes.
That's next week. That's going to be great. And then a well-kept secret in Thailand is Steam Week on the Kwai. So these are you probably know, Thailand has 5 steam engines from dating back to the 1940s.
Okay.
And some of them go up to the Kwai Bridge, and there's a festival for a whole week, which is not widely publicised, and it should be more, because people would certainly travel from Europe, I think, to that.
Well, I think it is becoming something that is on people's lists, and you can see people are wanting to get on trains and travel. And next week, are you travelling with someone I know?
Yeah, Richard Barrow falls into my advanced planning team, because he's the only one who can get the tickets for some of these trains. He has to queue up at the station at 8:25 in the morning. Yeah, absolutely.
He is the man.
Yeah.
No, and look, he was on our show a few weeks ago talking about his train travels and what he's done. He's such an inspirational guy. I really enjoyed speaking with him.
He's got the detail, and that's wonderful for me as a companion traveller, because I don't need to worry so much about some things.
Correct. So you said you're travelling from Singapore all the way through.
Yeah.
So does that mean you're going to be travelling on the dual track through Hue Hin in that week?
Yeah, the dates are really interesting. We didn't know this was going to happen, but we will be travelling through from coming up on the train from the Malaysian border, Padang Besar. The night train arrives in Bangkok 12 lunchtime the next day. So that puts us at Hue Hin for 9:30 in the morning, maybe. I think that's the time that the new track is open.
Yeah, because that opens on the 11th, and the new timetable for the double track is on the 15th. Is that right?
Yes, and that's really important, because as Richard's pointed out, the journey from Bangkok to here is going to be 1 hour shorter, and down to Hat Yai 3 hours shorter.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
No, and I think he said the number 43 is his favourite train to get that 3 hour rail trip. So I think that should be really fantastic. So tell us a little bit more about, are you writing another book? What's next for you?
I'm going to take a short break after this current book, Sue Junction, took me longer to write than I've ever spent on a book before, and I need a bit of mental space, so I shall do nothing for a little bit. I think my next adventure will be in Japan. I visited Japan briefly a couple of years ago on a Trans-Siberian journey, and I just love both the friendliness and the alienation of Japan by train, because everything is so efficient and it's so easy to get lost. I spent half a day trying to find my way out of Shinjuku Station last time I was there, and I love that.
That could be a whole chapter, right?
Oh, I think a whole book on Shinjuku, and in the end a station master escorted me to where I wanted to go. You know, you don't get that very often.
Bless. Now, where can someone find your book?
Yeah, in Thailand, not quite in the bookstores yet, being printed shortly, but my book is available on Amazon, if you like ebooks, on Kindle.
Okay. And the name of that book again is?
Sue Junction.
Okay, Adventures in Thailand by Train. Well, I think every rail enthusiast should be buying that book, and especially if you love Thailand, I think it's a great way to get around and have a look at our beautiful country.
People need to take the train more. I've been talking to people during this tour, and they've never been on a Thai train, and they enjoy travelling in Thailand. Crazy. So I would encourage everyone to try a train journey, whether it's a short one up to the Death Railway to Nam Tok from Bangkok. It's a day.
Yes.
Or take the night train to Chiang Mai, a popular destination. Fantastic.
Yes. Or even around in our two provinces that border Hue Hin, whether that's down to Prachuapkhirikan or up to Phetchaburi, like that can be fantastic as well.
Yeah, there need to be a few more trains. Not enough trains in the daytime passing through here.
Correct. So maybe the new timetable might fix that up, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you, Matthew, for coming in and chatting with me today. It's been a real pleasure. And you can check this out, this video, what we've done here. We've put this on YouTube today as well, and plus on our Facebook page. So if you missed anything, you can go back and check it all out. But thank you very much, Matthew, and enjoy your journeys.
Thanks for having me, Leigh.
We are Surf Radio.
Online at surf.radio.